Yes. Yes, he did. Joining us right now from The Athletic. I got a pop-up on The Athletic's app the other day.
And pop-up?
I
need to push notifications?
I need to talk to Sam about that. Listen, when I'm paying, triple price here because I choose to support journalism, I only need pop-ups in the app. All right. So, Sam, I want you to talk to Jonathan Athletic or whoever it is and fix all that. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
You're saying a pop-up ad?
Yeah, it was a pop-up ad for something from The Athletic, though. I forget, but I think it might have been this morning or whatever.
Wow.
It's the first time I've ever had a pop-up on there. It was a pop-up promoting something athletic, though, so maybe it doesn't count. It's not like an ad, Sam.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm here for you.
Okay.
Customer service will be all over that.
Somebody made the mistake of asking, we were just talking about this, if LeBron James had the hype that Victor Wembanyama did, which for anyone over 30 is laughable. But are we in agreement or not? Is Victor Wembanyama the most hyped prospect since LeBron James?
He is, and I would actually probably argue that he's more hyped, but only because the world has changed. And social media did not exist when LeBron came around. The media industry is larger and more omnipresent. So getting a high schooler on the cover of Sports Illustrated was the biggest thing ever back then. But, today's version of that is bigger and louder. So you can make an argument that it's more, I think.
Sam Amick from The Athletic joining us, of course, on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Sam, I am fascinated by this idea and these reports that are starting to come out that the Blazers are looking to move off the number 3 pick in order to help put I guess we'll use the word contender around Dame Lillard. Just kind of your overall thoughts on that whole situation. That's how it's going to play out in Portland, you think?
Well, unpack a little bit for me, Dave, why that fascinates you so that I can drill in a little more.
Because I feel like we're at a point now with Dame and the assets that Portland has. I just don't see them being able to put a contender for an NBA title around Dame Lillard, even with that number 3 pick. So I'm just kind of fascinated in the thought process there versus maybe like, okay, we have the number 3 pick. Maybe it's time to rebuild this thing.
Yeah, no, I think I assumed that's kind of the direction you were going. And I think I agree with you. It is a weird time where, he chose to stay. They've chosen to honor the fact that he chose to stay and not pivot in the kind of way that you're talking about. And I think, honestly, it kind of speaks to the reality that there are some organizations in the league where, just winning more than losing is good enough. And it feels like that's the direction they're going to go in, because I don't think they'll be a title contender. If they get an OG Anunoby or somebody like that for the number 3 pick, okay, great. But they're not terrifying anybody in the West. So that part is strange to me. And, and again, I mean, like you said, the fact that Joe Cronin and that ownership group, that's their GM, that they are endorsing that direction. It kind of is what it is, because they see Dame as he's the greatest Blazer ever, and I guess they're going to just ride it till the wheels fall off.
Sam Amick with us, going to Philly now. Doc Rivers out. Daryl Morey, I've long wondered if his Achilles heel is James Harden. They have a relationship, obviously, and Daryl has sacrificed a lot of capital for James Harden, who it now sounds like he may want a 4-year deal ultimately. Do you see Harden working? Do you see Philly working long-term in that system with James Harden on that team? Or is there a ceiling to you?
Oh, there's definitely a ceiling. That's another one where a love affair with a certain player. It's kind of similar to Dame.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what happens there, because the noise about James still going to Houston is pretty loud, even though they're not obviously nearly as good of a team that has Joel Embiid on it. The Doc Rivers decision conceivably helps the Sixers' odds of keeping James. But there's a lot of this in this particular offseason where, all-star player in his mid-30s wants to get paid. A lesser version of that is Klay Thompson with the Warriors, where it's like you have all this history between the player and the franchise, or the player and the executive, and it might, ultimately lead to a contract that is not wise because of everything they've been through together.
Sam, I want to go to Golden State. Obviously there's no consensus on whether or not Bob Myers will be back next year. But when you really look at that core there, it's Bob Myers, it's Steve Kerr, it's Curry, the aforementioned Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. If Bob Myers decides that he does not want to be the general manager of the Warriors anymore, how do you see that as a domino effect with the rest of that core group?
Well, I'm a little surprised to say this. I think, that right now, if you're handicapping it, it feels like the core group is going to stick together. And it feels like Bob is likely going to be gone. Our Shams Charania reported last night that there were pretty strong indications that that's the direction it was heading. I don't necessarily think that if that does happen, if that Bob will be running a team elsewhere, I think he might, kind of dive into other directions as an in-between thing, which we've seen people do. But I also think that Draymond will probably get a new contract. And I think that Klay Thompson will probably get an extension, not the one that he wants. He's not getting a max deal or anything close to it. But, Mike Dunleavy is well positioned to take over that front office. And in fact, yesterday when Mark Spears from ESPN and Landscape had reported that Bob was not taking part in the GM meetings in Chicago, and Mike Dunleavy was, I looked into it and thought was interesting is that Mike apparently has been doing that kind of stuff for most of the last year. So it's going that way, I think.
Sam Amick with us. Where do I want to go here? Do I want to go with the Warriors? Let's go back to Portland. Just real. No, screw it. I want to go to Boston. I want to go to Miami. We continually get surprised as an NBA nation, it seems, by Miami, and it's the battle of they're not really 7 seeds with the Lakers. They're not really 8 seeds with Miami. Yet somehow Miami continues to show up and either be there or be really close to a championship. When you look at Miami's strengths, obviously that mental toughness, that dog mentality is a huge part of Spo and Jimmy Butler. Do you feel like that's something exploitable with Boston's seemingly ability, Sam, to be rattled here and there and inconsistent?
If so, that's surprising. This is a team that came fairly close to winning the whole thing last year, and I understand the Ime Udoka saga and Joe Mazzulla being a first-year head coach. But man, this is supposed to be a battle-tested group. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, been there, done that. Marcus Smart, putting Robert Williams back in the starting lineup, kind of had their band back together. But the Miami thing is real. I actually, last night was having dinner with friend and colleague Jeff Dilgett of USA Today, and he was.
How is Jeff, Sam? By the way, I'm sorry. How is he good?
It's very nice of you to ask. It's very public. He's been fighting cancer for a long time. He's doing well.
Okay, good.
He's doing well. And I mean, he's doing. Listen, if he's bemoaning and, for lack of a better way of putting it, I think I can say this on the radio, just bitching about the Heat culture narrative being tired. Then Jeff's doing fine.
That's good. That's really good to hear. One of the great guys in the business. Sorry to cut you off. I had to ask.
No, you're good. But I think it's real. I was telling Jeff, you're out of your mind. I get that you're tired of hearing about it, but it's real. And you're looking at a team that has no business being as far as they are. Just continues to do it. And Jimmy Butler is just an absolute playoff performer. And I just, before jumping on with you guys, watched a clip from last night where it was all the times in game 1 that he was double teamed, and just the expertise with which he navigated the double teams and found the open guy and just picked that Celtics defense apart. So it's crazy because you've worked all season, Boston, to get home court advantage, and you lose it just like that. So that is just something else.
That is Sam Amick of The Athletic. By the way, Sam, you had the make me feel old thing of the week. I can't remember if it was you or your wife on Facebook posting Mother's Day pictures. Your children are huge, and I'm not a fan of it. Jesus, dude. They're adults.
I love it. Sounds like you're really close to saying you're not a fan of them.
I'm not a fan of your these little babies.
He said he hates
I'm not a fan of these little babies getting this old. God.
All right. Can I make you feel even older? That you always know when we talk during the playoffs, you get like tired Sam from the playoff road.
Yeah.
Tired Sam last night had a blast with some people in the industry going to a bar. It was one of those like video game bars.
Oh no.
Yeah, barcade.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was every game from our childhood. And, you know, I got to be honest, like I'm sitting there laughing, thinking the power to go just get $20 in tokens and not have to ask my mom.
Yeah.
We've all had it. We've all had that experience.
We've all had that $10 roll in our hands.
Quickly, Sam, go to arcade game.
Yeah. What's your...
I mean, I'll be on brand, but NBA Jam was a lot of fun last night.
Sure.
And I'll leave you with this. The Lakers, this killed me. You know what the Lakers option was on this particular version of NBA Jam?
James Worthy and Sedell 3.
No, not even close. The one and only legends, Vlade Divac and Anthony Peeler.
Okay, Peeler 3. I'm kind of in the ballpark there.
But still, those are Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
My goodness.
The Kings were Bobby Hurley and I forget who else it was.
Joe Flynn.
Something like that.
Coswell.
That's Sam Amick of The Athletic. Insight only from Sam like that. We talk to him each and every week throughout the season and throughout the playoffs. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
See you. Bye. That's Sam. We will take a break. When we come back, we'll recap some of the things Sam said. Also, an update on a future King, perhaps.